I guess my whole background has led me toward being a member of the Hole in the Wall gang or some outside. I'm a member of the outside community somehow. I ran off from home when I was very young and stayed away a very long time, and as a result, had to kind of I had to be a thief and a liar and a cheat and all kinds of things to survive, just to make it through hell, high school and so on, and get through school and that sort of thing. And as a result, I approached the theater. I got into theater because the director of theater in my undergraduate school saw me perform and said he thought I was good. And to my memory, that was the first time anybody said anything about me being good. So I was hooked. Said, I'll go with the first one, that danced with me.
I think Keith's true theater was the world, and the greatest play he ever directed was his own life.
Somehow he turned all of that sourness and unpromising, he turned that into something very incredibly sweet and something very meaningful. So I'm back to magic.
I just looked at him as being a regular faculty person. But then,
Well, here's an interesting character. No question about it.
I felt like Alice falling down the rabbit hole.
And there was this guy that was laughing and joking and telling stories and using the F word that just blew my mind. I said, my God. But I fell in love with him, so to speak, that night.
Keith made me a little nervous because I didn't know what he would say or how he would say it. That was my first impression of him, so I was a little bit wary of him. At the same time, I was kind of drawn to him. And frankly, after about 42 years, it didn't change much.
Well, his reputation preceded him. I'll tell you that.
He had the most eloquent eyebrows I've ever seen. And that for some reason I wanted to impress the hell out of him.
I caught right away that he was a kind of a visionary.
I was like, this guy is just like extremely unusual, just to use just to be mildly close to what it was,
Trying to describe Keith Kennedy can be a kaleidoscopic experience.
A multi-person.
A consummate professional.
Cowboy.
Large.
So compassionate.
Loving.
Challenging.
Enthusiastic and curious.
Seemingly boundless creativity.
Inspirational.
At the same time, he was just this asshole kind of guy,
A serious person.
dirty old man.
Just open-hearted,
Intrepid. I mean, he was always going someplace with it.
He was a PhD with a honky-tonk mentality, that's what I say.
Mischievous. He was bad,
He got away with things that no one else could possibly have gotten away with.
Really sensitive and empathetic.
He was a person, I think, that in some degree could look into your soul and may not be afraid to tell you about it.
You could tell there's a lot of horsepower in that engine, but he didn't rev it much.
A genius in his own right.
This is not play practice, come if you can. It's not some little extracurricular goodie. This is gut life.
My daddy was
he was daring me to be who I was.
And to look to see what it was that you were.
He thought everybody was extraordinary. And not only did he help you to see yourself or give you the space to become yourself, but he actually inspired you to be a little of the self you wanted to be.
Heaped fertilizer on them. You know what I mean? So they would grow and blossom, and he just did that.
He dreamed big dreams, and he wasn't afraid to chase those dreams. He didn't always succeed. He had spectacular failures, but he wasn't afraid to risk.
The leap of the fool into the unknown, if you will.
Shoot for the moon. What the hell? You may hit it.
The thing I loved was that all of that brilliance and knowledge and intelligence was filtered through that wonderful West Texas accent.
Because I've never been able to shake an accent, so kind of a Texas accent, that I've often mistaken to be a kind of a num-num, you know, some kind of dull hick. It served me well sometimes, and then sometimes I'm a dumb hick.
Every conversation I ever had with Keith and every conversation I ever had about him had one thing in common.
Really funny. He had a great laugh. I can't quite imitate it.
He has influence on everybody.
He changed not only my life, but hundreds of other lives.
He's my touchstone.
For me, I felt like I was that butterfly in the cocoon that didn't want to get out. And so he helped me get out of the cocoon and fly. So.
And I met him, and then the light came on.
It changed so much about my life. We're not going to be here long enough for me to tell you.
I learned to use four-letter words a lot better than I had ever done.
I had times with him, you know, that I can just think about him now, and they just still bring me joy, you know.
His magic took you to a separate reality where all things were possible, you know, in a very real way.
A lot of people have been converted. I have. I mean, as far as the people in the tribe, I'm not going to say that Harris made me such a fool that I'd go out and say, well, the people in the tribe of Harris are typical of all white folks. No, I ain't that big of a fool. I know there's some rednecks running around. You know what I mean?
My memory of Kennedy is one of the strongest, finest things in my whole life.
Part of the lesson was learn to see with your heart and listen with your heart, you know.
Magic, miracle, Keith Kennedy.
If, as the ancients say, kindness is the highest form of wisdom, then Keith Kennedy was perhaps one of the wisest men I've ever known.
Kennedy was a trip, man.
If you think about it, paradise has got to be the most boring place you could possibly imagine.